Right, so for those of you that's not familiar with Osprey Pro is CT Lab's cloud-based analysis and data analysis software. It is on the internet. You don't need any software that you need to download to your PC. It is accessible from any device with internet connection. So that being your laptop, your cell phone, Mac, iPad, whatever the case. So this makes it quite nice to be able to view data on the fly wherever you go, and so on. So one of the I think standout features from Osprey Pro, if you compare it with Osprey Lite, what we've covered in the previous session, is the ability to manage your fleet. So Osprey Pro was developed to be a fleet management software. So if I can just quickly go to measurement points, you can add your whole fleet of units on Osprey Pro and be able to analyze, manage them all on this one system. You don't need to individually connect to a device and then individually analyze or so on the data. And we'll get to that when we further on in the presentation. Another very important and I'll say functional concept for Osprey Pro is the ability to get notifications. So with Osprey Lite, you don't have any functionality to receive notifications. Where in Osprey Pro, the data is pushed to the cloud. So the data will always be available. It's live. You don't need to download the data as conventionally. And when there's specific events that happens or disturbances in the network, you can get notified by email or SMS. So the first thing that I wanted to show you before I get into the rest of Osprey Pro is just to show you what notifications you can set up. So as a user on Osprey Pro, you'll be one of three users. You'll either be an admin user, a fleet manager, or standard user. And that is why today's session will be focused on what functionality an admin user and fleet health user will have compared to a standard user. Can I just please ask that you mute your microphone? Thank you.
Eric, can you please mute your microphone? Thank you.
Thank you. But all users on Osprey Pro will be able to subscribe to certain notifications on Osprey Pro. So when you go to your account, you can go to profile and you'll be able to set or select what notifications you want to receive and in what way you want to receive those notifications. So starting from the top, there's task management notifications. So you as an administrator will be able to hand out tasks to colleagues or to other users on your Osprey Pro account. And this makes it a good day-to-day operational tool. Let's say, for example, there's a network event that had happened and you want someone to analyze and investigate that event. You can assign that to someone, and we'll get to how you do it. But that is basically what task tracking is. And once you've been assigned to a specific event, you can then you'll get notified by email and or SMS or push notifications. And from there on, there will be a link on that email where you can click on that will take you to that specific event that you've been subscribed to. So just quickly, before I go on, the three ways you can be notified is firstly via email, so standard email. And this will be the email that you set when logging into your Osprey Pro account. Then SMS, so this will be via WhatsApp. This is not functioning by default. So there's some additional admin and some additional stuff that needs to be done in the background to make this functional for you. And there's also additional costs involved when using the SMS function. So it's not, you can't enable it by from default. Then push notifications. So this is the concept where if you have Osprey Pro open in the background, for example, on your PC, on a browser, once you receive a notification, you'll get that notification on your laptop as a browser notification, for example. That's the difference between the ways you can be notified. All right, going down, as I mentioned earlier, one of the big advantages of Osprey Pro is the ability to manage your fleet. And with this, there comes a list of notifications that you can enable to be notified if there's something going on with one of your units or devices. For example, you can be notified when the instrument data gets corrupted, or when the instrument is disabled, when there's any health problem which stopped downloading data, or when there's, for example, a time problem where the GPS lost time synchronization, for example. So this will, this will notify you of the biggest issues. If there's, for example, some underlying issue that's not part of this, you can also enable excessive warnings or errors. And you'll get this when the amount of logs or warnings that exceeds a certain amount. And when it exceeds that amount, which is above what you'll get in a normal day, you'll get notified that something is going on and you need to look at the device. So that's some of the fleet health notifications that you can set up. Then going down, we also have some energy notifications. For example, you can set a max demand. You set the max demand for a specific measurement point, and once it exceeds that, you can get notified, for example. Or when the power factor is below a certain level for a certain period of time. So that's some extra features. But what you want to get to is under other notifications. This is where you can set
Hein, looks like we lost you there. I don't know if it's only me.
Yeah, I also lost him. Can't hear him.
Okay, maybe let me give him a call.
Hello everyone, sorry, I think my internet just dropped. Danielle, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
My apologies for that. I just want to get back to the screen. Can you see my screen?
I can see your screen.
Thanks.
Hi, sorry.
Yes.
My fault. Good morning, and to get to that screen again, just to slow down a bit for me. I'm sorry. How did you get there?
Oh, how did I get to this specific notification screen?
Yeah, correct. Sorry, it's my. I'm just backward this morning. I can't get there at the moment.
Okay, no problem. So when you're on Osprey Pro, no matter where you are, you'll see your user account or your name, your profile on the top right side of your Osprey Pro. And if you click on that, there's profile. And then under profile, you'll have your details. So this is your personal details, and then subscriptions. Do you have that, Peter?
Yes, yes, correct. Yeah, no, I find that extremely difficult. Sorry. Thank you very much. I've been there before, but I didn't know how to get there at all. Thanks.
Okay, no problem. So yeah, so as I was saying, the power of this notifications is that this is unique and personal to you. So you can set up the notifications that you and what your task is, that you only receive that and nothing else. And I think this also adds the benefit, and one of the things that stand out of Osprey Pro is we want to make this system as much part of your daily operation as we can. Not just use it as once in a month tool to download data, generate a report, but to really use this in your day-to-day operation to manage your network, to manage your fleet of devices, and hopefully give you some insight on your data on Osprey Pro. Right, so that's notifications. What we also have under your profile is the privileges. But yeah, the privileges is just basically what devices your account's being subscribed to and that you can access from your account, and I'll get to that now as well. If we then just jump out of this and we go back to the admin portal, I think before we do that, just to give you some brief overview of how Osprey Pro's layout is that on the top you will have we call this portals. We have the home portal, the admin portal, fleet health, power quality, energy, and then your profile. Now, depending on your user type, so either you're an admin user, a fleet manager, or a standard user, will dictate what portals you have access to, and within the portals, what subsections or pages you have access to. For example, only admin users, and also to an extent fleet managers, have access to the admin portal and will have access to the pages within the admin portal. And this is, for example, the accounts page, the users page, shares, etc. Right. As any user will have access to the home page, and to an extent, the standard user will also have access to the fleet health page, but you won't have the full functionality here. We'll get to each of these pages in more detail, but just to give you some overview. Then the power quality page is also accessible by any user, same for the energy, and then obviously your profile. Right. Now, the home page is where you will get your where you'll be able to view your push notifications. So under the home portal rather, you have your issues page. Under the issues page is where you'll see your push notifications, and that's if you have enabled this for the browser. So you need to do two things to enable push notifications. You need to enable the push notification under your profile, so what notifications you want to receive. And secondly, you need to enable it for this browser under the home and issues page. And on here, you'll get your list of, if it's enabled, you'll get your list of notifications and what type of notifications it is or you have. Also a nice feature that we have in Osprey Pro, you'll notice that we don't have a user manual really for Osprey Pro, and that's just because of the extent of functionality on it. But throughout Osprey Pro, you'll see question marks everywhere. Now, these question marks is there to provide you with information of whatever is on the page, the functionality and the features on the specific page. So, for example, under the home page, next to my name, there's a question mark, and this will give you some introduction on Osprey Pro, how it functions, how it works, give you a few websites, give you links to instrument user manuals, and then how you can navigate throughout Osprey Pro. So if you get lost, you can always go back to this question mark and it will give you some hints or tips of how to navigate and what is, for example, under each one of the portals. So this will explain what's under the home portal, what you can do, what each one of the pages and sort of functions means, and the same for each one of the other portals as well. We also explain the different concepts. So we have the concept of portals. As I explained earlier, that's the home admin fleet health portal. We have issues, that's your notifications, if you have push notifications, or it could also be your network disturbance issues. And then tags that I'll also get to later on, and the concept of campaigns, etc. So you can read through this if you need some more information on how to use Osprey Pro. Right, so that's the home page, and we'll cover the reports, how to generate reports, how to view trends, all of that in the next session, which is next month, which will cover the standard user use cases. So how do you generate trends? How do you annotate power quality disturbances and generate monthly reports? But just to show you a quick overview of where you'll do that is under the home issues, you have your report page, and this is where you can schedule different sort of reports, so ad hoc reports, scheduled reports, and then under viewers is where you'll be able to plot data. So you can plot your availability of data for each one of your measurement points, the trends, your trended data. So this is your RMS data or harmonics, events, instruments, and so on. Real-time view, synchrophaser if it's enabled, and so on. And then there's also a tools page where you can do targeted downloads and targeted exports of your data. But we'll cover this in more detail in the next session. So that's where you'll find trends and so on to view. But the focus today for me is to cover the admin portal and the fleet health portal. So as I mentioned earlier, there's 3 types of users. What I'm currently on one of our demo accounts on Osprey Pro. So you'll see a whole list of users on the account. So initially, the only thing you'll need to do is there needs to be an account created for you to have access to Osprey Pro. So if you, for example, purchased meters from CT Lab and you've purchased a new license, Travis will create an Osprey Pro account for you and add the first admin user to the account. Now, an admin user will have the functionality to add more users to the specific account and give them privileges. So that you will do under the admin portal users page. So you can see here's a list of users already on the account, but you can, as an admin user, you'll have the functionality to add more users. So you can add one of your colleagues, and in here you'll just need to specify name, surname, email address, and also there's some other functionality like there's time limited access, for example. This will give access, this person will, for example, only have access to the data for a certain period of time. So for example, if you do have a consultant doing work for you, doing data analysis, but you only want them to have access to your system and to your measurement data for a certain period of time, you as an administrator can actually control that and set that up. Now, let me just go out here and go to a specific user so that I can show you privileges. Let's go, for example, to Ivar. If I click on that user, you can see the details that was set up. Under privileges is where you can set up the role for that user. Again, if you don't know what the roles mean, you can click on the question mark, which will explain it in a bit more detail of what you can do and can't do as that specific user. So you can see he was set up as an account administrator with additional privileges for real-time view, targeted downloads, and other functionality that not everyone has. You can then also give the person rights to specific measurement points. In this case, Ivar's got rights to all the measurement points on this specific account, but you can also just specify a specific measurement point if you only want to give him access to the data for that point. So that's also a very nice feature. And then there's also a tag selection. So what this means is, and we'll get to tags later in today's session, is that you can create tags. For example, let's say you have 10 meters that's on medium voltage level. So you can create a medium voltage tag and basically give that or specific measurement points that tag. And then if you only want to give a user access to specific meter points with specific tags, you can do that. So for example, here I can only give Ivar, for example, access to meters that are on LV or MV, for example, but you can create more tags as you feel comfortable with. And there's also more functionality with tags as well that I will get to. Okay, so that's the user page. You can delete users. So once the user's been added, you can disable the user and you can delete the user, but the user will never be completely deleted. So you won't have access to your account, but you as an administrator will be able to view what users has been deleted, and you can enable them again in the future, or undelete them again if you want to, going ahead. So that's the users page. All right, going to shares. The only difference between a user and a share user is that a shares user is someone that's already been added to an Osprey Pro account, to another Osprey Pro account. So let's say, for example, a good example is consultants. Consultants do work for different clients, and they'll be added to different accounts as they do work for them. But their main registration for their account will be on their name or their company name. So you need to add that specific person as a shares user. You won't be able to add them as a standard user. So just as you would for a normal user, you'll add that person with his email, give him the role, and you'll have the ability to give him additional privileges and rights to your account. And then that person will have more than one account on his Osprey Pro. So when he logs in, there will be a box like this with a drop-down list of all the accounts that he's got access to. For example, this is the list of accounts that I have access to. So I'm created as a user on the CT Lab account, but I'm created as a shares user on all of the rest, for example. Okay, so then we have the concept. Okay, another thing just to mention here, when you create a user, that person will receive an email that from Osprey Pro that notifies them to verify their account. So there will be a link on the email that they need to just follow and basically set a password, and then after that they'll be able to log into their Osprey Pro account. And you can see, as an administrator, you'll be able to see when did the person last log in, and what has that, or did that person verify their account or not. So you can see there's a few users that's, for example, have not been verified, and this will also give you some indication if that person is actually using Osprey Pro or not. Okay, now the concept of campaigns. This is also something that's totally new with Osprey Pro. So in the past on Osprey Lite, you had to create a measurement point with the configuration for each one of the measurement points individually. You can create templates, and you can then import that template for a specific for measurement points as you add more to the Osprey Lite. Now, the concept of campaigns is similar to a template. So it's just you have not just more, let's say, there's not just configuration that's being saved and then added to the measurement point, but there's also additional functionality that's enabled. So the concept is, for example, if we look at the managed power quality to a PQ standard campaign. If the campaign, so this is the default list of campaigns that you'll receive. There is additional ones, but additional campaigns, there may be licenses and extra licenses that need to be bought afterwards to enable that sort of campaigns. But if you look, for example, at the managed power quality to PQ standard campaign, this campaign basically has a template of how does a generic configuration look for a device that's used to manage your power quality to the NRS standard or the NRS compatibility limits that's specified in the NRS. So this is just a generic template. So if I add a new measurement point to Osprey Pro, I do not need to individually specify what trends and disturbances or events I want to monitor. By having this campaign active, this template or this configuration will automatically be stored or configured for that device. So this makes the whole adding instruments, commissioning instruments a lot easier going forward, specifically if you have a big fleet of units that you need to manage. Now you can see there's additional campaigns, for example, the managed power quality to contractual level campaign. Now, this one does not necessarily change configuration to a measurement point, but it adds additional functionality to what you can set up. So the generic stuff that you can set up for a measurement point is I'll go through that, the details, the supply, voltage, is it 3-phase star, 3-phase delta, all that, the interface, the VT-CT ratio, and then you have tags and so on. But campaign properties by default is not enabled. So this specific, let's say, page also is not by default enabled for all your measurement points. But if you activate this specific campaign, you also have the ability to set up campaign properties. So campaign properties is then you will be able to actually specify limits for that specific measurement point. And this is more relevant to in the renewable sector, where you as a IPP or RPP need to comply to specific limits according to your contract. And you can then actually set up that limits individually for that specific measurement point. So it's not, if you do a report, you don't necessarily just do a report according to the NRS standard. I hope this makes sense. So the concept of campaigns is just, yes, it will do configuration for you of a measurement point, but also add more functionality and more things that you can view. For example, characterized power factor. If you enable this campaign, there will be under the energy page, you'll be able to analyze the power factor of that measurement point. So you'll be able to set limits for your power factor. So when it is poor, when it's acceptable, when it's good, and then be able to be notified if the power factor drops below a certain value that you've set. If you don't activate this campaign, you don't have the functionality to do that. So that's the concept of campaigns rather. Okay. You can also, before I go on, you can specify what measurement points need to inherit that campaign. So let's take, for example, this manage power quality to PQ standard. If you click on update measurement point, you can see that all the measurement points on this account is selected for this campaign. So all of them will be configured with at least generic NRS configuration. But you can, if you don't want all of them to have this configuration, you can actually specify individual ones if you want to as well. If you're only, for example, interested in characterizing the power factor for a specific measurement point, then you only need to select a specific measurement point to do it. Or again, you have the option to do tag selection. So you can create a tag and you can you can add that tag to specific measurement points, and only then the measurement points with that tag, if you select it here, will basically be be part of this campaign. Okay, I hope that makes it clear, not too confusing.
Ryan, can I ask a question?
Yes.
Actually, two questions. I see there's a metering campaign and there's a power quality campaign. What if you want to do both? Can you combine campaigns?
So what do you mean with a metering campaign? I just want to...
Metering, let's say you want to use it for billing purposes.
Yes, okay, yes.
Okay, so you've got billing requirements and you've got power quality requirements on the same site.
Yes.
Then you want to do both, and it would be nice to have a combination of the two campaigns.
Yes.
Would one have to do that perhaps separately and create your own campaign, or can you create your own campaign?
So to answer your second question, no, at this point you can't create your own campaign, but you can run multiple campaigns together. So for example, here we have a number of campaigns that's active. So here, all measurement points will run this campaign. All of them you can set contraction levels, and all of them you have the ability to record the billing data and set up tariffs and generate all the reports for billing as a metering device.
If you want to check.
Peter, does that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay. Do we have any other questions? All right. So going to the next page, we have the measurement points page. So the measurement point page is where you'll find your list of measurement points on the account. Now, if you want to add an instrument to Osprey PRO, the process will look like this. You'll log into your account, obviously, and under admin instruments, you'll need to add an instrument to Osprey PRO first. So remember, an instrument is installed to a specific measurement point. So you can at any point uninstall a specific instrument to a measurement point and select some other instrument to be installed to that measurement point. Your data will still be captured for that meter point. So you can, let's say there's a device that's faulty that was connected to this meter point. You can at any point remove that instrument from this meter point and install a new instrument to this meter point, and it will just continue downloading the data that's already been downloaded for the past period, with the same configuration of all the same information that's been set up already. So you need to first add the instrument to the account. And you do that by going to Instruments and you click on Add. You will then get a pop-up page to select what sort of device it is. So you have your new next generation or the latest generation of devices, and then the old generation of devices. So you select that and you click on Next. You then select your account if you have multiple accounts, or if you only registered to one account, this won't be applicable for you. And you then select the files. So select files mean you need to now select the key file. So with each device, so this is similar to Osprey Lite, which we've covered last month, is you need to now register that key file to gain access to the meter. So this is just a security purpose. So you'll get that key file on the memory stick that we provide with the instrument. And you basically just navigate to that key file and you register the key file. Once you've done that, the instrument, will be on this list of instruments. Now you can see that all 4 of these devices is attached to a specific measurement, to a measurement point. But if you initially add an instrument to Osprey Pro, it won't be attached to a measurement point yet. It will actually be disabled once you've added. So you first need to enable the instrument. And then you do that just simply by clicking on it and enabling it. And this one's already enabled, so I can't do it, but you click on enable, and that will enable that measurement point. Now, once you've enabled it, there's a few things that you can set up for the instrument. You can set the IP address, the connection type, and you can also see if the device is online. So yeah, now this will obviously depend on the way that you're connecting to Osprey Pro, or the method of connection. And if you need more assistance with this, you can click on the question marks. It will explain a bit more of what each one of the different connection types mean, and also in what scenario you'll use that. You can also contact us if you need any more clarification on how to use this. Now, you can also, under the download configuration, you can specify what data needs to be downloaded. Now, this is something that we've received a lot of questions and calls about in the past, is that people say that the device is not recording even harmonics. Now, the device are recording even harmonics. It's just that by default, even harmonics are not enabled to be stored on the cloud. So you need to just go into the measurement point and make sure that if you're interested in even harmonics, that you enable it here and you click on save. So this will then just import the even harmonic also to the cloud. So it's basically just being stored for you. The same for interharmonics. By default, they are disabled. Here you can select what sort of data it needs to import. So you can actually unselect certain parameters if you're not interested in Osprey Pro importing or saving that data to the cloud. So if you're not interested in saving the logs of the device, for example, you can disable that and it won't store any logs or any telemetry data. Telemetry data is data for the specific instrument, like the temperature, the battery voltage, the charging capacity, the charging level, all of that sort of information is captured in the telemetry. All right, so you can also just specify if you're not interested in harmonics, for example, you can only select the RMS or so on. But I don't recommend playing around with this too much, but you can enable even harmonics if you want that. Okay, now once you've set up the instrument and it's enabled, you need to create a measurement point. So again, there's the measurement point will have a list of all your measurement points, and you can see there's 4 already on the account, and these 4 are the 4 that's been attached to these 4 that's here. Now, you can, to add a measurement point, you click on add, and you need now specify all the information that's required to for that measurement point. Now, I've covered this in quite detail in the previous session of what each one of the settings mean. But again, if you have questions, there's always the question mark that can give you some more information on what each one of these means. So if I just put something in here to go to the next page, you can see there's question marks that will guide you through the whole step and process of what does each one of the functions that you can select or set up mean. That will hopefully assist you in setting this up correctly. All right, so that is how you would add an instrument initially. Once you've added, not a measurement point, sorry. Once you've added a measurement point, you need to attach the instrument to that measurement point. So you've now created a measurement point, but there's no data being recorded for it because there's no instrument attached to it. So simply you need to click on it and you need to click on install. If you click on install, you will receive a page. Let's see if I can go to another website just to show you this. I need to log in. I'm not going to do that now. In any case, so once you've added the measurement point, click on install, and you will then need to select what measurement point you want to attach to that, what instrument you want to attach to the measurement point. Once you've selected it, you will get a real-time view that will show you what the voltages and currents is that it's currently recording, and then you can analyze and see if you're happy with it, if it's correct. And once you agree that it's measuring correctly, there will be a button on the bottom to say installation complete and you want to commission. And then after that, you know the device will be recording. Maybe any questions on this before I continue? All right. So I've covered measurement points, instruments, and then we have nodes and assets. And the other one that I also want to do now is tags. So let's first cover the tags page. I've briefly explained some of the applications for tags. So more application for tags is the ability to create a tag and then also generate reports for only specific tags. So for example, if you want to generate a power quality assessment report for only all of your HV meter points, you can do that. But how do you add a tag to an instrument? You simply go to measurement points. Under setup, there will be a page tags, and here you can select what tags you want to add to it, to this measurement point. For example, here's the power factor campaign tag. So if I select this tag, because I've specified under the campaign that this specific campaign is only for the meters that's got this tag, then I can actually characterize the power factor for the measurement points that's got the power factor campaign tag, for example. So that's one application of it. Another one is, for example, if you want to do the technical losses over a transformer. So you, for example, have you're measuring on the HV of the transformer, and you're measuring on the feeders on the LV, or output of the transformer. If you have all of that, you can actually specify a node. So like here, for example, you have an incoming and outgoing. So this is a node. You create a node by giving it a name and then selecting measurement points. And you can actually generate a specific report, like the technical losses report for this node, because you have all the information on the incoming and all the information on the outgoing, for example. Or alternatively, you can select create a tag for a specific substation incomer, and you can create a tag for a specific substation outgoer, and then you just select those two tags for the report to generate that sort of report. So this is just different applications of how you can use tags with measurement points to get more functionality. So for example, another application would be, let's say you are a municipality and you are measuring on all your incomers from Eskom, and you are also measuring all your load centers in your network. You can then create a report, or you can create a tag for incomers, and you can create a tag for load centers, and then you can select the consumption report that will compare all your incomer. It will sum all your incomers, power and energy usage, and the same for your load centers, and you can compare the two with each other and see if it matches up. That's, for example, another application of using tags with your measurement points. All right, so I think I've covered that. Assets is if you are measuring, for example, a transformer, you can add that transformer as an asset. And then when there's, for example, an event on Osprey Pro, let's say there's a dip or a fault that affected that specific asset, you can then, in the annotation of that event, you can specify what damage was done to the asset, or how was a specific asset affected. And then also later on, you'll be able to generate reports and get more information on what happened to all your assets over a certain period of time. So you can see that there's a lot of functionality that's actually hidden that can add more benefit and give you more, more features for your day-to-day operations. Okay, the next one is tariffs. Now, I'm not going to go into too much detail of how you set up tariffs, as it's quite complex and you need time for that. But with Osprey Pro, you can accurately set up tariffs, time of use tariffs, simple tariffs as well, whatever you want to do. We have all of it on Osprey Pro. You can see there's a list of tariffs already on Osprey Pro. And let's, for example, go into one. You can see that this tariff is a time of use tariff. The energy type is total. It's seasonal variation, and you can see what the seasons are: high demand, low demand seasons, the different charges, what's the time of use rates for different periods, off peak, peak, standard, and then you also have your vacation days here in the bottom, where you can specify how a specific day should be treated. Is it a Saturday, Sunday, or whatever? So you can see you have basically all the full functionality of setting up detailed tariffs, and then you can generate a billing verification report to view this tariff. Now, what I would recommend you do, if you want to set up a tariff for one of your meter points, is to select one of these that's already on the list. Maybe one of yours are already here, or you can just select one of them and clone that tariff. So if you clone it, you basically make a copy of it, and you can then just change the information. You can change the name of the tariff. So you'll just click here and you'll add this as a new tariff. You'll provide the voltage level information, the customer category. You can see there's a few categories already, transmission zone, and then on what period this is relevant to the specific tariff. And you can just change these values. For example, you can change the period, change the name, and so on. So I would recommend the easiest way to start with this would be to just clone one and go from there. Now, if you've created a tariff, you can also create a supply contract. So you can see here's a demo contract that was created. This demo contract uses this specific tariff. It starts on the 25th of the month, and the two supply points that's using this supply contract or connected to the supply contract are these two. And you can also specify the maximum demand, and there's also some power factor stipulations that you can add. So this is just an example of how a supply contract has been set up. And once you've set up the supply contract for a measurement point, it's easy to just generate the bill for that measurement point because you've already selected what tariff are linked to that measurement point. But if you don't set up the supply contract, you can easily just generate a report for a specific measurement point for any one of the tariffs that's on this list. So you have the option to do that. And again, I'll show you in more detail how you do that reporting. But yeah, is there any questions on tariffs? Okay. Then we have a function called cross trigger. This is also a new concept, first of its kind. And the concept also, again, works with tags. So you will create a cross trigger tag. So you can call it cross trigger, for example. Let's add this. So now there's a cross trigger tag. Okay. How cross trigger works is, let's, for example, say there's an event that happened somewhere in your network. There's a dip, but that dip hasn't been picked up by another measurement point on your network because maybe it just didn't propagate through to there, or the dip depth wasn't, big enough for that meter point to actually pick it up as a dip. But you always want to compare the two measurement points. When there's an event at one, you want to see what's happening at the other one, no matter what the event type is. And that's what cross trigger do is you can create a cross trigger between different measurement points. So if one triggers, so one event triggers at one, you will also record data at the other one, no matter if the dip was picked up there or not, or the event was also picked up there or not. And that's the power of cross trigger. So, and how you use this is quite simply, you create a cross trigger tag, and you say, I want to use this tag as my cross trigger tag, and you then save that. So now, just want to save it. Okay. Now, once this is saved, if you go to measurement point and you select, for example, this one, and you select the cross trigger tag here, and you select this meter point, and you select the cross trigger one here as well. Now these two measurement points both are, you see, has the tag cross trigger. So if one of them, if there's a dip on one of them, you'll also get the data, no matter if it was picked up the event there as well for this meter point. So you can compare the voltage waveforms because they are time synchronized. You can compare the voltage waveforms, the phasor values for these two meter points because of that GPS synchronization. And that's the power of cross trigger. Is it gives you the flexibility to gain visibility over your whole network, no matter if the event was picked up or not. So, for example, if there's you have a customer and you want to monitor if something happens at the customer. Let's say a load starts up, you want to see what happens at your incomer. You can create a cross trigger. So the moment there's some trigger that happens at that customer, you'll also get data at your incomer if you've selected it like this. So that clarifies how you use cross trigger. So you can see there's a lot of functionality in using tags that's not actually used quite often enough because people don't know how to use it. But again, there's also the question mark if you need some more information of how to create tags, that will give you more information of how to enable tags, remove tags, and so on. So you can at any point remove a tag or whatever you want to do. You can see, for example, if I go to tags and I click on, sorry, I'm just waiting for it to load. And I click on HV, you will see what tags has been added to this HV tag. And you can see what measurement points is added to this cross trigger tag. But you'll also be able to see it under the tag session under measurement points. Okay, let's see, what else can I show you here? Okay, single line diagrams, which is not what's nice about Osprey Pro. You can import single line diagrams to your Osprey Pro account. To give you a better example, maybe I should just quickly go to one of our clients, and you can see there's a number of single line diagrams on the account, and the dots basically shows where specific measurement points are on the network, where we are measuring. When there's an event that happens, a power quality event, this single line diagram will be attached to that event or incident. So if you open an incident to view the incident, and again, we'll get to that in the next training, you'll be able to see where in the single line diagram was that event recorded or picked up. So if there's an event only in a specific section of the network, only those meter points will show up under the incident single line diagram. So this is also a nice feature on Osprey Pro. Okay, so that's single line diagrams, and to add the single line diagram is, again, it's simple. You will click on that here, you click on add, you give the single line diagram a name, and you then select the file. Now, the only thing about the single line diagrams, it needs to be in vector graphics, so SVG format. There is multiple converters that you can use online, or you can use a program called Inkscape, for example, to convert a PDF or a PNG or any image from that to a SVG. So you just need to do that before you can import it into Osprey Pro. Once you've imported it, you can see here's a list of measurement points on the account, and you can now add that measurement points to your single line diagram. So let's say we're measuring here, and I want to add the Children's Hospital there. You can see I click on Children's Hospital, and I click where on the network are we measuring there. You can then always just delete by clicking on it and then clicking on the minus. Then it removes that measurement point from your single line diagram. Once you're done, you just click on save, or you can delete, you can zoom in. So there's just an extra navigation features available here as well. Okay, I think that's the most things on the admin page. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to cover that for now. Do we have any questions on the admin portal?
I Hi, Jackie here. Can you please just quickly go back to where you were busy with, I think it was the measurement points to select what the face mask of what harmonics needs to be downloaded. I was trying to get to that page you were on my Osprey Pro and I couldn't access it.
Okay. So to do that is actually under instruments. So obviously you attach a specific instrument to a measurement point, but you need to specify on the instrument level what masks or what harmonics needs to be downloaded from that instrument. So under instruments, you click on a specific instrument, click on setup, and then from here you have your download configuration. And this is where you then specify for this specific instrument what data needs to be imported. There is an easier way. That's basically, let's say, your account settings. So this is instrument specific. If you want to set up a specific download configuration for your whole account, so that's for all your instruments, you can do that under accounts. So you can see I have a list of accounts here. You most likely only will have your one account, but let's take, for example, the CT Lab demo account that I'm currently on. Here you can also click on setup, and here also is the download configuration settings. And what you specify here is like your it's the settings for your whole account, like the default settings for your whole account. I hope that answers your question.
I can't seem to access those pages that you have.
Okay. So you don't have access to, you can't go to the setup of an instrument.
When I go to the setup, it doesn't show me those tabs on the top that you have that says global settings, download configuration. It just says details.
Okay, it could be because of your account type. Do you know? Yes.
I'm sorry, it's Henko from Certificate, and we've got the same thing. We only have the details tab and no global settings or download configurations on our.
Do you mind if I quickly go to your account just to look at it?
Yes, sure, yeah.
Okay. I just want to quickly see here something. So you say you don't have the ability to do that?
Yeah, if I click on the instruments and setup, we only have the details tab and no.
Okay, I think I know why this is there. It could be that I didn't actually know this. It could be that this was set up so that, you know, not anyone can just enable and disable what should be downloaded to Osprey Pro. And I think the reason for that is, if I just go back to myself and show you, if you go here, you can see there's other functions that you can also disable and enable. For example, the download only 10-minute trends. If I disable that and you've enabled the configuration of 1 minute or 3-second trends on your instrument as well, then that data will also be pushed to the cloud. And that is obviously not something that's part of the license that we give. We only import 10-minute data and event data just because of the amount of data that's being pushed to the cloud and because of the data costs and the hosting of that. But I do agree and think that at least even harmonics needs to be there by default. But if there's something specific that you want enabled, so here you can see what the options are. I think you're more than welcome to send me an email or Travis an email, and we can from our side then just enable it for you, obviously bearing in mind just the amount of data that may be involved with it. But just enabling even harmonics, I don't see that as an issue. Okay, Jaco, I hope that answers your question. My apologies, I actually didn't know you don't have the ability to do that.
No, it's fine, thanks. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that because I'm admin account on my admin user and I didn't see that I could access that, so I was just wondering what the reason was. But now I understand. It's fine. Thank you.
Okay. We've had this in the past, and you can only, if you want even harmonics, just give me an email and I'll just enable it for you. If it's just specifically the even harmonics and you need to, for example, do a harmonic assessment, then you need that. I mean, you can't get away from it. So yes. Okay, but you see, that's where there's the functionality of campaigns. Going forward, I think we'll extend this section of Osprey Pro where you'll have the ability to purchase more campaigns to enable more features. So maybe there can be a campaign where certain data can now be imported and stored to the cloud because you've purchased the license for it. So there's a lot more that we can add here. If you have any, if there's anything specific that you think would be of benefit, more than welcome to send me an email. Obviously, we need to know what is the need from our clients and what's the application of it so that we can enable it to the system. Okay. You can also see there's also some campaigns that's not on all accounts, and that's just because not all of them are by default available to all customers. Okay, more questions on the admin? Otherwise, I'll just go over to fleet health. All right, so under the fleet health is where you have the ability to manage your fleet, and that's now your fleet of power quality instruments. I just want to go to another account to give you some more. Oh no, let's just keep it here. It's fine. So under the fleet health dashboard is 3 specific dashboards that we have on Osprey Pro. The current fleet status, instrument repair status, and fleet configuration status. Now, these are available for all customers, except I think the fleet configuration status is not available for standard users. So a standard user won't be able to view your fleet configuration status. Now, the fleet configuration status page is where you'll be able to see what trends and events has been enabled for a specific measurement point. Now, I mentioned earlier the concept of campaign. So these, if you enable that managed power quality to a power quality standard campaign, it will automatically enable the 10-minute trends, harmonics, min-max, and also 3-phase voltage dips and swells. That's the default because you've activated that campaign. If you've enabled the billing campaign, it will also enable billing under specialized trends. Now you can enable or override any configuration. So maybe before I continue with fleet health, let me just quickly show you that. If you go back to measurement points and you go to a specific measurement point under config overrides, here you can override any configuration that's already there. So, okay, let me just select another one. Okay, I can't show you properly. I just select another account. I want to show you how it will look on your system. So this is what I suspect you to see on the config overrides is basically initially nothing. And that doesn't mean that your 10-minute trends and your 3-phase dips and swells are not enabled if you have the manage power quality to PQ standard campaign active. This specific tab under the setup of your measurement point is only to override configuration. So it doesn't show you what's already been configured. It's just to override anything. So you can see the only thing that's been added to the normal configuration is 10-second frequency, for example. So that's been added manually afterwards. But if you go to fleet health and you go to fleet configuration status, you will see if I click on that meter point, that 3-phase 10-minute range, 3-phase voltage difference swaps, it's still there. It just doesn't show the override because I didn't override any of that settings, if that makes sense. You can see billing is also enabled because the billing campaign, if I go to campaign, is active. All right, so if you want to manually add, if I go back to CT Lab demo, if you want to manually add more configuration to it, you can do it under configuration overrides. And this is where you can specify more monitors, for example, that you want to trigger on. Again, you can click on the question mark for more information on some of them. Not all of them are in there, but yeah, so if you are interested in enabling a current exceedance limit, for example, you can do that. Or if you want to trigger on voltage transients, you can do that as well. And that you set up here. But the only thing that you need to take note of is if you enable anything more than 10-minute trains on the left side. So if you enable 1-minute trains or 200 millisecond data or 3-second trains, this data, although it's being downloaded, it's not being imported to Osprey Pro. So if you want that data, you'll need to manually download it on site directly to your laptop, and you'll only be able to view it with Osprey Lite. We do have something that we can provide you. We can afterwards import data. So if you download data with Osprey Lite, we do have the functionality, obviously at additional cost, to actually import other trades on Osprey Pro. So if you're interested in something like that, you can also contact me. But this is where you would manually set up additional configuration. Okay. Any questions? Yes.
Yeah, gee, I can't get to that page. I'm scared to ask because it's probably me being stupid here, but I can't get to that.
Okay.
This override business, I can't get to it now. I don't know. I've tried admin measurement points.
Yes.
Then I have a selection setup, yes, but it doesn't give me that page that you had. Yeah, there I get that as well. Yeah, that's what I get. There. What you've got now, I've also got now.
This exactly like this.
Exactly like this, yes.
So you have the overrides.
And then I click on overrides. I get a message: instrument configuration Osprey Pro is calculated from rules provided by the campaigns, etc., etc. There's a whole sentence here that they paragraph.
Sorry to chime in. I had that same issue. There's a push button that says show options. If you click it, it will show you all the options to configure. It's just a message to tell you what you're about to do.
Oh, so there's a push button. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Now I'm with you. Okay. Sorry, I didn't see that.
Okay. No, I didn't. If you've been working for Osprey Pro a while, you've already clicked on that. You don't get the message. So I can't even remember that it's there.
You're so familiar with your product that you're going so fast that we are struggling. Those that don't use this, struggling with this.
Yeah, my apologies with that. I know it's, but yeah, you're more than welcome to ask me. I'll try to slow it down a bit.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. CT Lab demo. Okay, I was showing you the config overrides. So yeah, so that's where you would do it. And to view then what's been basically your whole configuration that's been set up with the overrides and with the campaign, you view that under fleet health, and then under fleet configuration status is where you would see the whole configuration. So what's been configured with the combination of your overrides and the template from the campaign together. You can't edit anything here. It's just to show you what's being set up. A nice feature here is that we also have history. So you can actually go back in history and see how configuration was changed and when, and also by whom. So this is a nice feature to have accountability. So you'll be able to see exactly who and when any of the configuration changed and what changed at that point. If something gone wrong, you'll be able to see why and by who, for example. So yeah, that's basically what this page shows you. There's also obviously more information on the rest of the configuration of that meter point as well. And if you properly set up the device, if you've properly commissioned the unit or the measurement point with a real-time view before you clicked on installation complete when you're commissioning the device, it will also store the snapshot, the real-time view for you. So you can at any point go back to one of the historic configuration times, or when someone did something, and you can view what was the real-time view at that stage when the person made the change. But it's only going to happen if it's done properly, waiting for a real-time view before you click on complete or you're done. So you just need to be aware of that. Okay, so that's basically this dashboard. Now this dashboard isn't available for standard users. If I don't have it incorrect, is that only fleet managers and admin users will be able to view what's been set up for the standard user. And that's just because you don't want everyone with access to your account to know what's been set up on a unit. Maybe it's confidential or so on. Okay, the current fleet status is a dashboard that will basically give you indication at this moment of time if there's any issue with power quality. Oh, not power quality, with the unit. There's a similar dashboard for power quality. That's why I mentioned that. But this will tell me at this moment of time, is there any health problems? Are there any clock problems? Are there anything strange with the device? You can also see the percentage of data available. So you can see these two are 100%, and then you have a little bit less years. So this 90% will tell me that, if I go back, sorry, my apologies. This 90% tells me that somewhere in the past, the device may have been off. It could be a disturbance, interruption, or for some reason, or load shedding. Yes, load shedding. For some reason, there's not 100% data. So yeah. So it could be a health thing, or it could be interruption or load shedding, as you said. If there's problems, you can click on this to filter that you only view the measurement points with problems, and new problems that's recently been identified by Osprey Pro, you can view on the new problems. You can see for all four, they are all four happy at this stage. If I click on one of them, it will take you to a new page that will show you more information on the instrument repair status. So we are on the instrument repair status dashboard. Again, there's a question mark with some information on what this page is trying to provide you. You have this circles that will show you of all your units, what the amount, there's 4 units in operation, all 4 of them are good. So you get indication of the percentage or the amount of devices that's got issues on your system. And if you click on them, you can get more information of that specific measurement points. If we look at this one, we have a feature here that's the current status, and you can actually add statuses to this. So as you go on in period of time and you're managing the fleet, if there's an issue that's happening at some point, you can update the status. So let's, for example, there's an issue with the GPS connection. It's the time synchronization isn't working 100%. You can actually update the status. So if I click on update, you can update the status. You can say who's the responsible party. So you can add more there. You can say who's the next action for. Now, for me, this is obviously the CityLab account, so we need to be responsible for it, and who needs to be responsible for this. So if I, for example, select myself, I will get a notification afterwards notifying that there's an issue or the status was changed to this. You can see what the status was changed to. So if the device is faulty for comms, and you can write a note here, you'll get that notification and you need to look at it. So that's part of the task tracking notifications, if you can enable that. But yeah, this device is in operation and it's good. So I'm just going to save it. And you can see now that just a few seconds ago, the status changed to in operation. If you changed it to faulty, you'll be able to see that as well, and keep track of your units and the fleet health. Okay, the next page is the health status trends. So this will give you an overview of, for example, some of the health indicators like the GPS synchronization, the time drift, the temperature of the device, the battery remaining capacity, and then some other things here on the bottom. So starting from the top, we have the time drift. So this will give you an indication if there's an issue with your GPS connectivity. Now these jumps or gaps are due to load shedding. Once the device goes off, there's a 1 or 2 readings where the time just needs to be synchronized again. But if I zoom in, you can see it basically stays close to 0 in time, and the GPS can actually, or manages to keep the GPS synchronized. It doesn't lose time or drift in time. So that's what you want to see. In terms of temperature, you can see how the temperature changed over time. You can see it's well beneath the temperature specification. And in terms of the battery capacity, if I zoom down, you can see that when the device was actually on and fully charged, it was at 100%. So there's no issues there. The modem signal strength. So the modem strength is good. If you get to -100, the signal is bad and you will start having issues with connectivity. And here you can see there's a few connection retries, and this was just during interruption periods or load shedding periods where it tries to connect, Osprey PRO tries to connect to the device, but it doesn't get the connection, so it keeps on retrying until it gets a connection. The drive usage is at 21%, and there's no other issues with data not loading or corruption of data or anything like that here in the bottom. So this is just a nice tool to look at the brief overview of all the fleet health parameters. Then you also have the latest health status page to view at this moment of time what is the time drift, is the time valid, for example, what is the battery percentage, what's the time source, so some information of the device. The calibration date, what is the clock sync, if there's any flags or errors or things to worry about, this will also show here. What's the signal strength currently, and what firmware is it running? So all this information on the device. So you were able, let's say, for example, the device loses connection, you'll be able to navigate to this page and you'll be able to see when was the last time the unit was able to connect. Now, for some reason, I can see that the time that this one was last connected was actually earlier today. So this is, for example, I know I need to look at this device to see why was the last connection date, you know, at 12 or earlier today and not a few minutes ago. So this is also a good way to keep track of it. Okay, so that's the 3 dashboards: your current fleet status, instrument repair status, and fleet configuration status. Then under tools, there's additional tools. I just want to make sure what tools you have available. Okay, so you have all the tools. So you can do targeted meter data delete. So just on Osprey Lite, you can delete data on the instruments. You can actually manage the instrument. So if you click here and you click on an instrument, you can select the time source, provide a custom server for the network time, and you can enable certain services. So for example, if you want to use Modbus, by default, it's disabled, or the web interface are by default disabled. You first need to get the services to find out what's being enabled. And once you get a response, you can then afterwards enable, for example, the web interface and apply it. And then this is another way you can, for example, enable the web interface or enable Modbus. You can also restart the device. This is just to remotely manage it, to restart the device, and so on. So there's additional features on here as well. Just note that some of this functionality here is only available on the latest firmware. So for example, to enable web interface, I think you need to be, I'm not sure what specific firmware, but you need to be above or from a certain firmware to be able to actually do it remotely. So if you get an error at some point or you're not be able to do it, you know, it's most likely that your firmware is too low. You need to first upgrade the firmware before you can do this remotely. Okay, so yeah, you can also view your, it's basically similar to the admin and then single line diagrams. So you can just view your single line diagrams. There is functionality firmware upgrades. I haven't done it myself personally. You can't at this stage upgrade to the latest firmware, which is I think 8.3.1. I think the latest one that you can remotely upgrade to is the latest version of version 7, so the last version of version 7. And we are working on enabling version 8 and up above as well as soon as possible, and so on. So that's just some additional fleet health tools available. Okay, I think as an admin user, that covers most of the things that you would like to do. You would like to manage your fleet, manage your instruments, manage your users, and set it up correctly so that everything is working operationally. And I think the last thing that you just want to always also view, and we'll cover more on this in the next session, is the power quality dashboard. So you probably don't want to necessarily annotate events individually or do anything specific to the events. That's maybe the responsibility of someone else. But to just view what's happening, you can do it here. And I'll also show you in the next session where you can schedule reports, so you can see monthly reports if you need that for your reporting monthly. So yeah, any questions?
Hi, Jaco here again. I just want to find out from you, so on the firmware updates, can we do that with Osprey Lite, or must we send in the instruments to you for firmware updates and repairs?
To be honest, I don't think you can do it on Osprey Lite. I haven't done it before. You can do it on Osprey Pro, but we always recommend rather to send it in to us, because with that you'll get another calibration of the device. So we'll do the firmware upgrade. Most likely, if there was any modifications done in the hardware, we'll do that, and we'll also upgrade the firmware for you. So that's always the recommended way that we propose. But if that's not an option, you can use Osprey Pro. To be honest, I haven't done any firmware upgrades remotely yet. We've always just done it ourselves. Yeah, that is something you can do on Osprey Pro if you want to. But again, it's only going to be up to the latest of the last version 7. So you won't be able to go to version 8 and above. And I think it's good that I mentioned that also, because there's quite a lot of new features that's been added after version 7. One specific one is small signal analysis. That is something that's become of a very hot topic internationally, and we've been quite involved in projects, specifically in Australia, where they basically have subsynchronous oscillations and network power stability issues with renewables and on the networks. And we've added a lot of functionality on how you can analyze frequencies below subharmonic frequencies. So that would be in your 20 hertz range, 20 to 30 hertz range. So you can actually plot individual harmonics for your subharmonics. So you can have, you'll get fingers, or harmonic spectrum of, 20, 21 hertz, 22 hertz, 23 hertz. And then we also have a high definition mode where we can show you harmonic spectrum in 0.1 hertz resolution. So you can view from 20 hertz to 26 hertz, for example. You can view it in 0.1 hertz steps to see if there was any resonance or oscillations or so on in that frequency range. So that's one specific feature that we've added in, that's actually been added to the latest firmware of devices, and it's not on older firmware. And to have that, you will need to send it in at this stage for upgrades. Another one is PMU functionality. So we have all protocols now available to use the device as a PMU device. So the ability to stream synchrophasor data with magnitude, phase angle, and frequency to your SCADA or to whatever you want to use it for your network control or so on. That's another feature that we currently also enabled and that you can set up. But yeah, Jaco, to answer your question, I'm not 100% sure on the Osprey Lite firmware upgrade. I think Osprey, I want to say I think you can do it, but I just first need to make sure. Let me open Osprey Lite just to answer that question.
And Osprey Pro, I look now, that feature is disabled on my admin account, so I'm assuming that's probably just one that's accessed on your account.
Yeah, so I can see on Osprey Lite, for example, there is an update firmware. You need to just have the firmware. So we need to provide you with the package and the password to upgrade the firmware. And I think that's why in Osprey Pro also, you need to send a request for us to do it remotely. And I think the reason for that is just if anything goes wrong, we can monitor the device and make sure we get it online, just to make sure there's no issues with it during the upgrade of the firmware.
Okay, no, thanks.
Right, thanks, Jaco. Any other questions?
Yeah, I suppose one would lose some data if one does the upgrade, or not necessarily.
I do not know, Peter. That is something that I need to find out from Travis. I mean, he's always been the one doing that. Hopefully, if everything goes well, you won't lose any data, specifically if the device is obviously connected to Osprey Pro and you have the historic data saved. If anything should go wrong, you have the data already there. The only, I think, risk is that if you do it manually and the data hasn't been stored anywhere, and there's for some reason your SD card becomes corrupted, in that case, yes, there is the risk of losing data. And that's also why we recommend that we do the firmware upgrade, so that we ensure that that doesn't happen.
Where does the data actually sit? I mean, once it's connected to Osprey Pro, and you have probably regular uploading on from the instrument to somewhere. Where does the data sit? How frequently is it uploaded?
Okay. Yeah, so it's every 10 minutes. Every 10 minutes, because it's only 10-minute data that's uploaded, every 10 minutes that sample is uploaded. So that 10-minute RMS data and MORIX are uploaded. But if there's an event or disturbance, the device will send notification or flag, I'm not sure if that's the correct word, but to Osprey Pro, which will then trigger a download of the data, so that you have access immediately to that event and not need to wait for the next 10-minute period to be over before the data is. So I think in every clock 10-minute, new data is being imported to the cloud, except if there's an event. Then just after the event, the data is immediately pushed to the cloud, and the data is stored on servers. Where exactly they are, I think we are renting servers somewhere, and yeah, they are sitting in a server here in Cape Town.
So that's quite a secure location for the data. It's not likely to be lost.
No, and there's also backup systems, and everything is in place. Should we lose a specific server, there is backup so that we never lose the system.
It's good
or
to
the
know
data.
that, yeah, that's very good to know actually, that that one doesn't need to be concerned about doing backups once you signed on with the Osprey Pro version of the service.
Yeah, and we also regularly do backups ourselves, so that we have it not just on the service, but we have the backups as well. So that also, I can't say when, but I know Travis does that quite regularly. So it's above the initial setup to make sure that you don't lose. We take extra measures as well to make sure that that doesn't ever happen.
Okay, that's quite reassuring. Thank you.
Okay. Do we have any more questions?
Hein, I'm sorry, I just have a question. Say you have, for instance, a situation where you have a meter point installed and it's busy with billing reports. And on your fleet health, you find that your system or your instrument might be going down due to, I don't know, maintenance, or you need to take it out for repair. How do you go about to install the new meter point without losing any data? Do you put two of them on the same time? How do you go about without losing any data? As I mentioned, it's a billing account, so you can't really lose any data. Otherwise, your stuff won't be accurate.
Yes. The nice thing, Yaku, with this is that how it works is obviously you have your measurement point, and because the data is regularly pushed to the cloud, once it's been saved, only 10 minutes later, the next data will be pushed to the cloud, and you never need to worry about that. But I would recommend, if you know you need to do a swap, is to first add the instrument to Osprey Pro, and just then you do a detach. You make sure that instruments are online, it's connected, the Osprey Pro can see it before you do a connect. You attach it to a meter point. Once you ensure, so if you click on it and you can see it's online, you can see everything is functioning, you've enabled it. At that point, you detach the other instrument, and you immediately attach the new instrument. And you shouldn't lose. Maybe there's one sample or something, and where it wasn't imported during that process, but you're not supposed to really actually lose any data. Immediately it will start downloading what the previous device was doing. If that answers your question.
So at the moment there's no method to attach 2 meters to the same meter point so that you have data overlap.
No.
Okay, so it's in essence a time game. If you don't want to lose, if you want to lose as little as possible.
Yeah, you need to make sure that once you detach an instrument, you have the next one available immediately to put that one on, so that you don't lose that data. Yeah.
Okay, no, it's fine. Yeah, I was just wondering about that. Okay, thanks.
Okay. What you also can do, yeah, but I mean it's a few seconds. It's maybe a few seconds where the one is detaching and the other one is being enabled or commissioned. So you're not supposed to lose minutes of data.
Yeah, no, my only concern was to detach the CTs and all the VTs and connect it up to get the new instrument installed. So that takes a bit of time. That's what my only concern was. So that's why I was wondering if there is a method to get both, but no, it's fine. I don't think I'll ever run into that issue. I was just curious.
Okay. Yeah, the nice thing about swapping one device with another device, it's okay. Obviously, if the CTs, you need to short the CTs first, which is something else. But it's easy to unplug the plugs out of the device and then just plug it into the new device. I mean that can be done quite quickly. While you also, if you have internet connection, can quickly do the detach and attach as well. So obviously, yeah, maybe it's not perfect, but yeah, hopefully you don't need to run into such a scenario, and it's so critical you don't lose any data.
Yeah, no, for sure. So thanks.
Okay. I have another hand.
Yeah, so from Osprey Lite, the instrument is automatically attached to the meter point. So how does it work with Osprey Pro? Do you do it yourself, or it's the same thing with Osprey Lite?
Can you just answer that question again? I just want to make sure I understand you 100%.
You see, on Osprey Pro, on Osprey Lite, the instrument is attached to the meter point once it's online. When it's online, how does it work with Osprey Pro? Is it the same thing or it's different here? You have to link it yourself.
It's the same thing. If once the meter has been attached to a measurement point, if it's online, it's the same thing as an Osprey Lite. The only difference is the communication. When Osprey Pro, you need to make sure you have connectivity for the data to be pushed for that meter point. And then there's a few things that needs to be set up on the instrument itself to have connectivity to Osprey Pro. So you need to be connected via internet connection, via either the cellular connectivity or cellular modem, or via a local network. It can be a LAN network, or it could be a Wi-Fi network. We can also do a VPN tunnel through the network to Osprey Pro. So the only difference is that the moment that the measurement point is attached to an instrument, just as for Osprey Lite, it's saved on the device. So the data will always keep on recording. It's already being saved and attached and on the instrument. So the data is also always recording. The difference is just Osprey Lite is you need to connect to it and then the meter comes online, where for Osprey Pro, you just need that remote connection with Osprey Pro to remotely connect to it. But the device is always recording in the background. It's just make sure you have connection so that the data is actually pushed to the cloud. Whereas for Osprey Lite, because you are at the instrument physically, you just connect your PC to it physically, and then it shows online, and then you can download the data. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, maybe the question is, you see on this page we're in, you have the instrument on the left-hand side column. On the next column, you have the attached meter point column. You see, how do you link that vector? Let's take the first one as an example. Vector 39 something and then 2157 linked to the meter point Daniel K. How do you do that link? I see there there's that tab of measurement points. That's why you create the meter point. But how do you link these two now, the meter key and the meter point? Does the instrument does that? How does it know? Because
Yes.
yeah,
Okay.
that's the question.
So if I compare Osprey Lite quickly with Osprey Pro, and on Osprey Lite, the process is very much the same. You first need to register the instrument to Osprey Lite, and then you need to create a meter point under configuration. Now, once you create a meter point, so you can see here's a few meter points without instruments attached to it. So you can create a meter point without actually having an instrument attached to it, meaning that no data is being recorded for that meter point because there's no meter attached to it. So it's similar for Osprey Pro. You also need to first add the instrument, register the instrument. Then you need to create a meter point. Initially, there won't be a meter point or an instrument attached to it. Once you've created the meter point, if I can show you on, let's see if I can do it. Click on add, just give it a name. Hopefully this will answer your question. I'll just make it, let's just do this. So just ignore the settings. I'm just putting something in here. Next. Okay, next. Ignore all these settings for now. And save. Now you can see I've created this meter point test. But at this point, there's no instrument attached to this meter point. So you need to click on install. So similarly as an Osprey Pro, if you create a meter one, you select the instrument that you want to attach to it. Similarly here, you just need to click on just the other word, it's install. And you then select the instrument that's available to attach to it. Now at this, we only have these four, and all four of them are already connected to a meter point. So there's no meter point at this stage available for me to add to this one. But if there was one that's online, I could select it and click on attach. And then you will get the real-time view that will show you what it's recording. And once you're happy that the real-time view is correct, there will be a button that you can click that says installation complete, commission the device. Only at that stage, then it's recording. And then if you go back to instruments, you'll see that the instrument that you've added was then attached to that meter point. So it's the same, it's similar, it's just it looks a bit different on Osprey Pro. And you're connecting remotely, where on Osprey Lite, you're connecting most likely directly to that device.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, it's a pleasure. Okay, we have a few minutes left if there's any more questions. Christel. Yes.
Thank you. Yes, I have a question. You said earlier that if you record like 1 minute or 2 minute data, that you have to download it manually from the instrument. So would it not be possible to connect to the instrument remotely via Osprey Lite?
Well, obviously that you can do remotely connected via Osprey Lite, but you sit with the issue then again that it's obviously not automatically pushed to the cloud, if I can say that. You need to then download it to your PC.
Okay, but at least we don't have to drive out to some random 1,000-kilometer away site.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
And that's obviously if you have access to the APN and all of that settings to remotely connect to it. But yes, you can do it. Okay, any other questions? All right, thank you, everyone. If there's no other questions, before we end the call, for the next meeting, it was scheduled for the 14th of June, if I have it correct. Danielle, you can just correct me if I'm wrong. We are going to move that meeting. Oh, thanks, Danielle. We're going to move that meeting up 1 week to the 7th of June. Danielle will send a new invite to all of you. And I think the time for that meeting will be 10 o'clock again, not as early in the morning. So yeah, please send this video out to any one of your colleagues who couldn't join, as we'll basically continue where we left off here, and that's to now start looking at how do you view trends of events, how to annotate the events, and generate reports, viewing trends, and all of the the other nice features available in Osprey Pro. So please join that session, and then we'll also probably within the next month or so, we'll let you know of more sessions coming. So we are planning to continue with this, having a monthly session. If you have a specific idea, maybe from a client perspective, if there's something specifically that you want more training on that you think can be a benefit, please feel free to contact me and let us know that we can develop the platform and the tools and all the knowledge so that can be passed on. We really want clients to obviously have benefit in Osprey Pro and use it. So yeah, but we'll let you know we have a few ideas, and we want to focus on showing new features that we have available. I think sometimes we add features and it gets lost in everything that's already here. So just to try and show you examples and so on, and how to use that features for different applications and use cases, and maybe demonstrate a few use cases that we've already had. So yeah, check out for that. If there's more people that you want us to add to the invite list, you can also share that with us, and we'll add them to the email list for training going on. So yeah, if there's nothing else from my side, thank you.